My wife counted the stairs every night before bed, 12 steps from the hall to the landing. She whispered the numbers low, like a prayer she'd half outgrown. Lena said her mother taught her, count what you climb and you'll always know the house is still the house. I thought it was sweet. 12 years married, 12 steps. I never counted them myself. I didn't have to. I just listened to her voice climb ahead of me in the dark. 1, 2, 3, her hand on the banister. 4, 5. The old wood breathing under our weight. I knew that sound better than my own heartbeat. We bought the house cheap because no one had ever stayed in it long. The realtor talked fast and never once climbed the stairs. I should have wondered why. For years, nothing strange, a draft, a door that wouldn't stay shut. The ordinary complaints of an old house settling into the people who hold it. Then one night it rained hard and Lena stopped counting at the top. She just stood there, quiet, longer than it takes to say 12. I called up to her. For a moment she didn't answer. Then she said in a small voice that wasn't quite hers, I counted 13. Something cold settled in my chest. 13 was a wrong number, a number with no place to stand. I told myself she was only tired, rattled by the storm. I almost believed it. She came down 2 steps and counted again, slow, 12. We both heard 12. She smiled, embarrassed, and went up to bed. But I lay awake, turning that number over. There was no 13th step in our house. So where I kept asking the dark, would a 13th step even go? It happened again a week later. Lena at the top in the dark, a pause too long. Then 13, this time she didn't laugh, and neither did I. She asked me to count with her, so we climbed together, her hand in mine, both whispering. 1, 2, 3, we reached 12 at the landing. See, I said 12, she nodded slowly. But she was looking back down the stairs, where the dark always pooled thickest by the front door. It's only 13, she said, when I'm alone, so I made a rule, don't count alone. A small, harmless rule. I truly believed it would be enough. And for a while it was. We climbed together every night, and the stairs held at 12. We kept our shape because we kept hold of each other. But Lena began lingering by the staircase in daylight, standing at the bottom, looking up. Her lips moving without sound. I'd ask what she was doing. Nothing, she'd say, just checking. I never asked what she was checking for. I was afraid that saying it aloud would make it real. Then one night I woke and her side of the bed was cold. The bedroom door stood open. And from the landing I heard her voice counting. 11, 12. And then after a silence that stretched far too long, soft as a breath on the back of my neck, 13. I went to the door. She stood at the top in her white nightgown, facing down into the black, counting. But her feet were not moving. There was no step above 12 for her to climb. She had run out of house. And still she said it, 13, down into the dark. The word went through me like cold water because I finally heard what it really was, not a mistake, an offering. I caught her arm. She turned to me slowly, eyes open but not awake. "He's almost up," she whispered. "He only needs one more." I shook her until she blinked, small and cold and confused, with no memory of leaving our bed. But I remembered the words she'd used. He, the thing in our house, had become a him, and a him can want. I didn't sleep. I sat at the top until dawn, counting the steps with my eyes. They held at 12 until just once they didn't. Just before the light came in the gray, I counted down. And below the 12th, half formed like a held breath, there was another. A 13th step lower than the rest, dim. As if the dark had studied the shape of a stair and was slowly learning to be one. I blinked and it was gone, 12 again, but I had seen it. And in that gray hour, I stopped refusing the thing I had known for weeks. Lena wasn't losing count, she was being counted too. Something at the bottom of our house was building a stairway upward, one number at a time, and it needed a living voice to lay each plank. Every sweet whispered number of our marriage had been construction. We had spent 12 quiet years building its road. I said we should sell. She agreed too fast, almost grateful, as if she'd been waiting for me to say it. We called the realtor. That night, the knocking started. 3 knocks low on the front door. I went down 12 steps and opened it to nothing but rain, an empty porch, and the smell of wet earth. I shut it and climbed back up. The moment my foot touched the landing, 3 knocks again. It didn't want the door answered. It wanted me on the stairs. The 3rd time I didn't go down, and the knocking moved. From the door to the wall to the underside of the steps, knuckles climbing. Lena gripped my hand. We didn't go down, we didn't count. We lay in bed and listened to something wrap its way upward, one step at a time. 1 knock, 2. And I understood with a horror that hollowed me out that it was counting now. For itself. It had learned the rhythm, and it no longer needed her voice at all. It reached 11 and stopped. 11 knocks, then silence for a long hour. Then the 12th came soft, almost shy, right outside our bedroom door. We waited for the 13th. It never came, not that night. The thing was 1 knock short, and it knew exactly where the last one lived. In the morning, Lena was different, calm, a wrong kind of calm. She made coffee and hummed and counted the stairs going down, out loud, smiling. 12. But she counted slowly, savoring each number. At the bottom, she turned, looked up at me, and said, 1 more and he's home. That was when I knew it had already reached her, not taken her, not yet. Only leaned close enough to teach her mouth the shape of welcoming it in. I looked at my wife and could not find all of her behind her eyes. I begged her, don't count, please. Whatever happens, don't say 13. She held my face in her hands and promised. I wanted so badly to believe her. We dragged the mattress downstairs and slept in the living room, far from the steps. The house felt patient around us, the way a thing is patient when it has waited before. And I remembered the realtor who wouldn't climb, the families who never stayed. 12 steps that stayed 12 only because everyone before us had refused to count past them. For 3 nights we didn't climb, we didn't count. The house stayed quiet, the terrible quiet of something holding still, so that you'll come closer. On the 4th night I woke and the floor beside me was empty. The stairs glowed faint and gray. And I heard her up there counting. I ran to the bottom. She stood at the top in her nightgown, facing down at me. Her eyes black and shining, laying numbers into the dark. 10, 11, 12, I screamed at her to stop. She only smiled down at me, and I saw she was not entirely the woman I had married. Behind her on the landing, the dark was standing up, tall. Folding itself into the shape of a man, counted almost all the way into being. My breath stopped. For months it had been only a number, a knock, a cold word in the night, and now it had shoulders and a head that tilted down toward me, waiting for one last sound. One more it breathed through her mouth, and Lena's lips parted. I started up the stairs, 1, 2, 3, and God help me, I was counting 2, and I could not stop. My own feet were laying the steps beneath me, 4, 5, 6. The numbers pulled out of me like thread off a spool. I was building its road as I climbed. I clamped my jaw at 7. I bit down on the 8th. I climbed the rest in silence, reached her, and tore her down the stairs into my arms. The thing on the landing wavered, unfinished, 1 number short. It reached for us with hands like smoke and could not hold. We fell to the bottom together. We left that night, 12 steps down, out the door into the rain, and we never went back. The house keeps its 13th step still, waiting for a voice. Lena hasn't spoken since. She moves her lips at night, but no sound comes. She has learned at last the only safe way to count, which is not to count at all. But I lie awake now in every place we sleep, and I count the stairs. I have to be sure, I have to know. And last night in the dark I reached 13.